This motorhome costs $50,000. This one costs $200,000. They are the same vehicle. Same solar panels, same lithium battery bank, same full kitchen, same bathroom with a hot shower, same queen bed, same air conditioning. One is built in China, one is built in America. And the $150,000 gap between them just killed an industry that thought it was safe. These are real motorhomes you can buy today, and the price difference is about to rewrite who gets to live on the road. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how China cracked a market the US invented, and why Detroit can do absolutely nothing about it. The American RV industry has operated the same way for 70 years. A handful of manufacturers, Winnebago, Thor, Forest River, build a few thousand units a year in Indiana and hand them to dealerships that mark them up 30 to 50%. For decades, that worked, because nobody else was building them. Then China entered the game and did not play by the same rules. Chinese manufacturers started with a simple question: why does a box on wheels cost as much as a house? The answer was not engineering, it was inefficiency. Here is how they did it. An American RV starts with a commercial van, a Ford Transit, a Mercedes Sprinter, a Ram ProMaster, which the manufacturer buys from the automaker for $35,000 to $45,000. The Chinese manufacturers do not buy the chassis, they build it. SAIC Maxus, Jack, Photon make the vans themselves at scale for export and domestic use. The base vehicle costs them $12,000 to $15,000. That is a $30,000 head start. An American RV buyer wanting lithium power pays $20,000 to $30,000 for a third-party battery bank. Chinese manufacturers use LFP batteries from Catalyst or BYD, built in the same industrial parks where the motorhomes are assembled. Cost: $4,000 to $6,000 for the same capacity. This news. Add in solar panels, water systems, and interior cabinetry, all sourced domestically at Chinese manufacturing prices, and the entire vehicle rolls off the line for $35,000 to $40,000. Retail price, sold direct to customer with no dealer middleman, $50,000. Now compare that to the American side. The manufacturer buys the $45,000 chassis, adds a $30,000 battery, installs cabinetry and appliances sourced from a fragmented supply chain, and ships the finished motorhome to a dealer. Total manufacturing cost, around $110,000. The dealer adds a 40% markup. The sticker price hits $155,000 to $200,000. The Chinese motorhome at $50,000 has the same lithium capacity, the same solar wattage, the same inverter, the same air conditioning. In some cases, it has more features: a diesel heater, a larger freshwater tank, better insulation. The difference is not quality. One industry built itself around scale and vertical integration, and the other built itself around dealer margins and low volume. China did not invent the motorhome, America did in the 1950s. But China built the entire supply chain from scratch with competition in mind. When you control the van factory, the battery plant, the solar panel line, and the final assembly, you optimize. When you sell direct to the customer through online platforms, you do not split the margin with a middleman. The result is a motorhome that costs what it actually costs to build, plus a reasonable profit. Not what the market will bear, not what tradition says it should cost. Here is the part that makes this uncomfortable. The American RV industry is failing not because Chinese manufacturers are cutting corners, but because the US system was never designed to compete on price. American RV makers build 4,000 to 6,000 units a year. Chinese manufacturers build 50,000 to 80,000. That is 10 times the volume, which means 10 times the negotiating power with suppliers, and 10 times the ability to spread fixed costs. The dealer network, once the strength of the American system, is now the anchor dragging it down. A dealership needs to mark up 40 to 50% to cover overhead, floor plan interest, and commissions. It does not work when a customer can buy the same vehicle online for a third of the price. How do you cut $150,000 out of the cost without cutting the dealer, the low-volume production, and the entire business model? You cannot. So they are lobbying for tariffs instead. And tell me something. Where in the world are you watching this from, and what time is it there right now? Drop it in the comments, and subscribe if you're new. This is where the most extraordinary stories come alive. Meanwhile, China is exporting. The first wave went to Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, where American RVs were already unaffordable. A $50,000 motorhome that can handle rough roads and off-grid camping is exactly what those markets wanted. Europe is next. Regulations are tighter, but Chinese companies are already homologating their vehicles for EU standards. The same motorhome, with minor tweaks for safety and emissions, will arrive in Europe at 70 to 80,000 euros, half the price of a comparable European RV. The United States is the hardest market to crack, not because of quality, but because of tariffs, safety certifications, and the dealer lobby. Gray market imports are already appearing in California and Texas. Once the first few thousand Chinese motorhomes are on American roads, the question will shift from, "Are they any good?" to, "Why am I paying 4 times as much?" That is the question that ends industries. Inside China, the motorhome market is exploding. 10 years ago, it barely existed. Today, there are over 200 Chinese motorhome manufacturers, and the domestic market grew 40% last year. China built the infrastructure: national parks, dedicated RV campsites, charging networks, and highway rest stops designed for motorhomes. The government recognized that a growing middle class would want to travel domestically and built the system to support it. Meanwhile, the United States is watching its RV ownership rate decline. The average age of an RV buyer in America is 58. Younger buyers cannot afford it. China went the other direction. It built affordable motorhomes for a generation that wants to travel, but does not want debt. What does this mean for the American RV industry? The optimistic view is that tariffs and safety regulations will keep Chinese motorhomes out long enough for US manufacturers to adapt. The realistic view is that they will not adapt because the business model does not allow it. You cannot eliminate the dealer network without destroying the relationships that keep the industry afloat. The brutal truth is that the American RV is expensive not because it is better, but because the system that produces it was designed in an era when nobody else was competing. The Chinese motorhome at $50,000 is a threat because it is exactly what the market wants, sold at the price the market can actually afford. That is the kind of competition you cannot lobby your way out of. This is not just about motorhomes. China did this with solar panels. It did this with batteries. It did it with electric vehicles. And now it is doing it with the American road trip. The question is not whether Chinese motorhomes are good enough. They are. The question is whether American buyers will accept that a vehicle they were told cost $200,000 actually costs $50,000 to build, and that the markup they have been paying is not quality. It is tradition. Once that question is asked, the industry built on that markup has a very short time to answer. This is the pattern repeating. Find an industry where the price is inflated by legacy costs, low volume, or dealer markups. Build the entire supply chain. Manufacture at scale. Sell direct. Undercut the incumbent by half or more. It worked for solar. It worked for batteries. It is working for EVs. The Chinese motorhome is proof that the high price was never necessary in the first place. Once people realize that, the expensive version does not feel like luxury. It feels like a ripoff. In the short term, American manufacturers will push for protection through tariffs and lobbying. That will buy time, maybe a few years, but it will not change the underlying problem. In the medium term, some manufacturers will try to adapt by cutting costs or selling direct. A few will survive by moving up market. But the mass market is gone. In the long term, Chinese motorhomes will be everywhere. Not because they are better, because they are good enough, and they cost a quarter of the price. Once that happens, the question will be, why did it ever cost this much? That is the question that cannot be answered without admitting the truth. This is not a story about China building cheaper products. This is a story about an American industry that got comfortable charging 4 times the actual cost, then got angry when someone pointed it out by building the same thing for less. The markup, the dealer network, the low-volume production, the refusal to adapt, that was the problem. China just made it visible. The American RV buyer now has to decide, do I keep paying for tradition, or do I buy what I actually need at the price it actually costs? If China can do this to RVs, what else can it do? What other American product is priced at 4 times its manufacturing cost because the industry never had to compete? The answer is a lot. The pattern is the same every time. Build the supply chain, manufacture at scale, sell direct, undercut the price. The Chinese motorhome at $50,000 is not just a product, it is a blueprint. The real edge is not cheap labor or subsidies. It is the willingness to build the whole system from scratch with one goal: make the thing people actually want at the price they can actually afford. American manufacturing optimized for a different question: how much can we charge? Chinese manufacturing optimized for how cheaply can we make this without losing quality. In a global market where buyers have a choice, only one strategy wins: The American RV industry thought it was selling freedom and adventure. It was actually selling tradition and markup. China just sold the freedom and left the markup behind. A Chinese company can build a fully equipped motorhome for $50,000. An American company charges $200,000 for the same thing. The difference is not craftsmanship or safety. It is a business model that was built when nobody else was competing. If a $50,000 motorhome can do this to a $200,000 RV, imagine what comes next. Subscribe if you are following this series. The next story out of China makes this look like the warm-up. Would you buy a Chinese motorhome at $50,000, or does the American brand still matter to you? The road ahead is going to be interesting.